All right, so these some pretty serious equipment running in these rooms. And well, we know that the projector needs its spot, center middle, right in front of that screen. There's a bit of location and space required for that. We've had a little look at where some of the lighting hubs, they also need space as well. Then the audio equipment and the source devices, the devices you actually want to play and use, need somewhere to go. So in this room, we've actually utilized the back corner of this room to hide our towers of power. Now, this is a demo space, so we have multiple systems running in here. So we've actually got two full-size racks. But don't worry, this is going to look a little bit crazy. For a typical home, you're only going to need one of these, or maybe even really half of one of these. So let's have a little look behind the scenes. A good example of where curtains come in very handy. We get a beautiful lush look and we hide the mechanics and the electronics and all the sort of technical stuff that a lot of people in the family just don't want to think about. And let's face it, as much as I love this componentry, when it comes time to actually enjoy a show, I don't want to think about this. I want to use the remote control, I want to hit play, I want to get that volume where I want it for what I want to listen to, lay back and forget about all this stuff. But it's a major junction for a lot of cabling, a lot of power, a lot of interconnectivity. And in this case, we got a whole bunch of things happening in demo room. We got new products coming and going. So this unit on casters can actually trolley out. We can get behind it and we can actually plug and play some new devices. We can get to it and actually maintain it, install new stuff, have some fun with it as well. So the things you really need in the rack is going to be the sound processor, which is actually the main hub of the cinema system. All of the source devices, they're the playback devices like the PlayStations, the Apple TVs, NVIDIA Shields, Foxtel, 4K of course with the satellite dish, PlayStation. I've got other Apple TVs because we've got multiple systems in here, media streamer players. All of these devices need to connect into what is the main cinema processor. Now that unit's also going to decode the sound. It's going to send the picture on its way to the projector while it then gets the actual signal for the speakers, either amplified inside the one box, great way of saving some money and saving some space, but ideally a great and a high-powered cinema is going to need more amplification than what a one-box unit can typically supply. So you're going to end up with separate power amplifiers to drive the speakers. And some power amplifiers, say driving the front speakers, you're going to need 300-400 watts or so of power to actually get to the cinema reference levels that's going to shape the natural, clean, powerful sound that we're actually gunning for. The effects channels, they're usually a little bit closer to the seat, so we can get away with less power from those ones. And a great strategy that some people would use is to use an all-in-one amplifier that runs most of the show, but juice it up by adding some extra power to the front speakers. It's a great way of going to save some money. So we've got some all-in-one amplifiers in here. This one's an all-in-one. The Marantz here is a processor. It's a dedicated processor linking to the separate power amps. While on the left here, you can't see it too well because it's stashed right in here. We've used up every millimeter we could in this room. So we're using what was the old door arch to actually get the system as far back as possible. But here we've got more source devices, as we mentioned. We've got the amazing Storm Audio Cinema processor. This is a truly reference piece of kit. Certainly some of the very best cinemas in the world feature likes of the Storm Audio. It runs a crazy amount of speakers. You can run like 30 speakers off this thing. We don't need that many in this room, but the quality is outstanding. We've got that moving into separate power amplification dedicated for our A system, our primary system here. The disc player, I forgot that one before. So I usually run Ultra discs. I actually get the discs from the shops, big pile of them. Have some fun collecting, just like record store day. And this is a fantastic way of the best quality for movies. Now the Apple TV gets a lot of usage as well, though it's not quite the same. It's a little bit compressed. But I tell you what, the quality we get just by hitting a button on Apple beats anything we could get our hands on like 10 years ago. So I mean, yeah, access to great stuff is too easy. Now power filters, Down at the bottom of the rack here, we've actually got a power filter, which actually cleans up the gritty power that comes in. So where we are, we've got about 240 volts. Sometimes you can regulate that, but absolutely we want to filter out all of the sort of buzz, the hum, all the grit of the power. So our electronics here have got clean power, and that does give better sound and picture. So it's a nice way of improving a system, can just be through the mains power system as well. Lots of stuff here, right? So the idea of these racks is that also allows airflow to flow through the components. These do get warm, like I mentioned before, so you may need some extraction fan to remove the heat in a given environment. We actually have got away with a passive setup where the curtains here are a few inches short of the floor, so that allows an intake in, and then we've got pretty easy, gentle passive cooling out the top. We did have a fan system in backup here, but it turns out we haven't had to use it, and we're actually moving more to what we call a D-class amplification, which means it's a new style of technology. It runs cooler, so we can have an extraordinary amount of power in this room and not a lot of heat in the rack, which is super cool. We've got some flexibility around that, but again, that's going to be a major part of the design considerations. What equipment is going to change the rack and the cooling needs of the room as well.